You're listening to Real Talk, uncensored and real. Let's get real with Miss Deja Vu here, and I wanted to title this topic in podcast really because of the what's going on in Texas and throughout that region where it's impacted most by this winter storm, and another winter storm is behind it. And everything from like DIY life hacks on safe ways to cook food, using like coffee cans and cooking grease to be careful. I know a lot of people right now are looking for ways to use heat or heat source, or need a heat source. This is where it gets dangerous. Of course, people are outside using outside outlets and not getting any energy or electricity. There's a lot of ways to get energy sources without putting yourself at risk. So please look for alternative sources, battery operated, or even satellite or solar ways to generate heat is always a better alternative. What I've been hearing from a report, and I'm just going to piggyback from what I was listening to on Owen, who was from InfoWars and the War Room. He's from Missouri. We're from Pennsylvania. It's warmer here. It's 20 degrees here. It's warmer here than it is in Texas. And what concerns me most is that the inexperienced person that is not used to the cool temperatures, that's probably the one thing that concerns me. If you're not used to being stuck on a highway, if you don't have enough blankets, don't know what to do, because a lot of people go into shock, okay? And what I want to do is I want to talk to that person right now who's in shock and might not have the means of communication, or if you know somebody that's really struggling right now, get this podcast to that person so I can talk to you. I was stuck in a winter storm for a week. I ran out of gas as I was traveling. I didn't pay attention to the weather. I was traveling from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and I ran out of gas at the exit. And luckily, I had the help of the PennDOT workers who got me food, and I waited till the storm passed, and then I got gas and I got out of the situation. But it took a week, actually, what seemed like a week. It probably was maybe even a week and a half to get out of the situation I was in. And I had to sleep at the exit, and every day I had to, go to the rest stop area. Well, I was at the rest stop area, actually, and I had to warm up, and, I tried to stay warm by moving around and things like that. What prevented me from going into shock, though, is that there were a couple nights that got so bitterly cold, and I called my family. I tried to get a hold of anyone, but because I have a family that's not that close, this really prevented me from getting the help sooner. And it does help to have, the help of a person that cares or has been through something or is experienced. And because I have the background of being a medic, I know also that shock is a real reality, okay? But those extra blankets, what I did, and I luckily, and I didn't know, I had a first aid kit, a Johnson & Johnson first aid kit, and had one of those plastic containers in. Also, it had a fire retardant blanket, and I wrapped myself up in the fire retardant blanket, and then I wrapped myself up in blankets, and I got through comfortably, and it really snapped me out of it. And I said this because I was more concerned about probably the shock of being in a snowstorm and freezing and being alone. Those are the two big things that I think about when I think about what would first responders do in the case of this many people in such a dangerous situation, or what could be a dangerous situation. And there are things you can do at home that can help you, okay? Like putting plastic saran wrap around your feet, and keeping your feet dry. What I would suggest is put socks on first, keep your socks dry, put the saran wrap around your feet, and then put another pair of socks, just in case your feet, the first cover of socks gets wet. Keep an extra pair of socks with you. You want to stay warm and dry. This is the way to do it. Now, a lot of people think this is old-fashioned, but this is what Grandma taught me tonight, and I'm going to tell you. Get a wig, get a hat, and go to bed with your winter coat, and put your best double pair of socks, and stay warm with Grandpap, like Grandma would do it. That's Grandma and Grandpa, okay. But a lot of people are single and alone, and that's the issue that a lot of people are going to run into, is that we don't have a lot of couples that are together. We have a lot of single moms who have children, and the one thing that if you can do is if you can get extra blankets and create body heat. By what I mean by that is, like, if you're going to get in and out of bed and you have a child that has, bedwetting issues, that might become an issue, okay? But make sure you keep a lot of diapers around. Keep, if you're like, even if you yourself maybe are incontinent, you would want to keep extra diapers around. Keep an extra supply of medical supplies around is what I'm saying. This is the biggest, most important thing that most of us are going to be running into, no matter where you are, but especially because of what's going on in Texas. I've been praying all day, and being from Pennsylvania, I'm especially concerned for the elderly and the children and the young moms and dads that are inexperienced. That seems to be the biggest concern. And from listening to that report from Owen, the one thing I took away from that is that he said some things that really, I didn't know where he was going with it, because it concerns me, is that it was what he said, it was a mild storm, but ice, rain, sleet, it was a mix of different things, and then it turned into snow. And what he did say, though, that he said that was mild, that's what it sounded like to me, because of the conditions of that area of Austin, Texas. But what I didn't know is that they didn't plow the highways, and that's what shut down Austin, Texas. And I guess that's the same thing with Dallas. So we're used to seeing the situation report, and we're used to listening to what Mike Adams says. So what I was hoping to get across to some of you, that my main concern is that they get the proper, that there's, well, put it this way, the first thing that comes to my experience, that's generally what I'm concerned about, is that you're going to see a lot more house fires. You could see a lot more injuries, because people trying to, use a heat source that they're not familiar with. You know what I mean? Kerosene fires, things like that. So, and the fire department would explain that too. So I guess it's going to come down to what first responders are going to be doing down throughout these areas that are going to be most impacted. Right now, the coldest that I know from what I heard today is it's 30 degrees below zero in Iowa, and it's getting colder by the night. And I was like a little stunned by that. So that was pretty much what I wanted to cover as far as the weather concerning Texas and throughout this, what looks to me from what I heard is the polar vortex. I don't watch a lot of TV news, so that you know, I get my reports from random reports, and I listen to InfoWars. I listen to a lot of different random, I listen to everything pretty much, but I just wanted to let you know that what I came away with and what I was hoping that we would at least be able to come to this point where we can give somebody vital information that would be able to get them through the initial shock of the situation that they might be presented with the weather being so cold. I mean, I just feel like it's the most humanity, the humanity in what I'm saying is that my heart goes out to anyone that is suffering unnecessarily, you know, and this day has been a very long day for people like myself who want to help but can't, you know, because we're so far away. So the only best thing I could do is offer my support and my, you know, voice of concern and sensitivity to the situation and give you some good advice from experience, you know. There was also some other things I wanted to add to this, but I didn't really have much other to say than be very careful, be very wise the next couple of days if it's going to get worse. I know from what I heard, another storm system is coming through. If there's a way that those supplies can be replenished, or you can get batteries and you can get to the stores, and if they reopen and you can get to the next storm, be extra prepared. Apparently, from what I've been hearing in these reports, that a lot of people are not prepared because of the, not of lack of preparation, but the lack of the shortage, the shortage of supplies. And that's going to lead me into the second part of the topic that we were talking about this in the first segment, and I wanted to wrap it up because I don't really do a lot of podcasts, and I felt the need to do this because of the conditions that we've been in. Okay, I told you guys earlier, if you saw my first podcast about the dark winter, but I wanted to add to it. I wanted to tell you guys that a lot of people don't think of what survival is, and surviving the elements is like what we just described, right? We also didn't really get into the other things, okay? Most people don't factor in like damage to your storage supplies. Like some people don't think, oh, well, bad storage ideas. Like you would never realize how important these DIY hacks and all these ideas from the internet that can, you know, you could find on Pinterest, and you could find ways to store food. Like you would never realize how critical your storage capacity is until you run into a problem and your storable food is no longer safe to eat in your food. And I ran into this with our refrigerator broke, so your food's gone, you know. So having a second storage for use of a freezer is what ended up happening is, in a small miracle, is that my refrigerator broke and I have another freezer, fortunately, so I can freeze food. But that doesn't happen often, I'm going to tell you that much. I mean, like I said, you hope for miracles, like small miracles like that, you know, luckily it worked out that way. But whenever a refrigerator breaks or something like an appliance like that, and you depend on something like that, especially at a time like this, or especially at a time when you want to use this storable food, and the food has been destroyed because of the frozen, because of the freezer breaking or something like that in this case, you know, you end up losing a lot of that value, and it could be very devastating. And I wanted to say that because I've been through so much with the survival skills, and I went through it and I gave up on it, and I really, we do have to be prepared. If you've messed up and you've screwed up survival skills 101, believe me, learning all over again, that those mistakes that you make can be so costly. I mean, and believe me, we're talking about dehydrated foods, dehydrators, to all these other things that were stolen out of my moving truck. I had a food dehydrator, I had all this stuff, and I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't be able to eat the food anyway because I ended up having an injury that I can't chew on food like that. But, you know, sometimes things happen in the oddest times, and you think, like, this will destroy me. It won't ruin you. In the long run, it probably won't. In the short term, it may. So having a short-term plan is always better. Having a short-term food plan, at least even like what I think is most, and I have not ever sold a bucket of prepackaged storable food, but I will tell you, probably the best money is spent is probably on a prepackaged storable food. And I'm going to tell you, because you already got the container and you already have it stored right there. And it's true. After everything I've been through, I can say that for a fact. Now, I said all that to say this, and I probably need to wrap it up here because I am running out of wind. And I did I worked on a couple podcasts here, and I have to tell you, it's been hard to get back into podcasting because it takes a lot of energy and to carry a long conversation by myself, and hoping that I can at least reach that 1 or 2 or 30 or 40 or 150 people or 7,000. But having been in the broadcasting field before, I taking it an inch at a time, coming back, and I'm going back into surgery. So I hope to get back into podcasting after my next surgery. I will try to do 1 or 2 more podcasts before surgery. But until then, thank you for listening to Uncensored Real Talk with Miss Deja Vu. Thanks again, and God bless you, and stay safe out there.